The firefighters quickly dug a small pit in the ground, without daring to delay even a second. Each of them took out their fire shelter and covered their bodies inside. The entire process couldn't take more than 35 seconds. This action was their only chance of survival when encountering a wildfire. At that time, the roar brought by the over 500-degree wildfire would be like 100 trains passing overhead. Captain George told everyone that the cool soil in the small pit was the cradle for maintaining breathing. As for whether they could survive, the rest would be up to fate. George had been a forest firefighter for more than 20 years, facing wildfires of all sizes. He could accurately predict them through temperature, humidity, and wind direction, thereby leading his firefighters to excellently complete the firefighting mission. That was because they were a city-level fire brigade, belonging to the second tier. In multi-team collaborative tasks, they always had to obey the orders of the pioneer team. In addition, the pioneer team's salary was double theirs, so it was common for team members to be poached. For this reason, George took his old friend Dune to the mountaintop. They had been preparing for 4 years, just to become the country's first city-level pioneer team. George's team members were all very strong, but just today, an out-of-place figure appeared behind them. This young man wearing a hat walked into the fire brigade. His thin body and dark eye sockets showed that he clearly had many bad habits. Charlie, who was his classmate in the first aid class before, knew about his bad habits, so as soon as he heard he was here to apply, he took it upon himself to deliberately say that the positions were already filled. Feeling a hint of hostility, the young man didn't question it. He politely said thank you and then planned to leave. At this moment, George came out and stopped him. Then he let the young man into his office. But he doesn't just take anyone. He needed to know why he wanted to join the fire brigade. The young man's name was Brandon, a typical social idler. But he learned that his ex-girlfriend was pregnant with his child and planned to raise the child on her own. Considered a scumbag, Brandon began to change. He never had a father since he was a child, so no matter how much of a jerk he was, he would not let his own child lose a father's love from birth. In order to thoroughly change himself and become a real man, Brandon came to the fire brigade, and this reason was enough for George. Without any extra nonsense, he was immediately put on the job. George then led the team to run to the mountaintop. Whether they were old team members or new rookies, George made them remember the beautiful scenery before their eyes. The moment the wildfire arrived, everything in sight would have a unified name: combustibles. On the way back, they encountered Brandon, who had fallen behind. After returning to the camp, they thought Brandon would give up. Just as George turned his head to go back to the room, Jesse called out to him in the direction of his finger. Brandon staggered back. He dragged his body, exhausted to the extreme, to the front of the 3 men. Then he took out his phone and showed the captain a photo of himself reaching the mountaintop. Acknowledgement between men rarely has too much expression. At this moment, George had already gained a new level of respect for him. The determined to change Brandon not only trained very hard, but during rest time, he would also go to the supermarket to buy a lot of snacks and then quietly put them at the door of his ex-girlfriend's house. He didn't know what the newborn baby could eat, so he could only express his concern for the mother and daughter in this way. Soon they participated in a rescue mission. After completing the task, they took a group photo under a big tree to commemorate the moment, but they didn't know that this would be the only group photo of the entire team, and Brandon was the only one who survived in the photo.